I had to go through truly hell and back. And I found heaven on the way on earth, and I found it within me. The body truly knows, and the body is our greatest teacher. This is the awakening, is when we remember that we are so connected with nature, and food is a portal to remember that.
Totally.
We need female voices to make farming sexy again, quite frankly.
And regeneration sexy.
Exactly. Farming is so cool. True power and the true wisdom is when you can come back into the world and you can stand there in your truth as an enlightened human or as an awakened human and someone that's still on that journey. We are here to show that there is another way. There is another way of relating. There is another way of being. There is another way of feeling. And that is truly living in alignment with who we are.
Yeah, it's been so nice meeting you, and you're obviously doing a range of incredible things. But for people who haven't had the chance to rock up at a festival and see what you're doing, like, what are you up to?
So thank you, John, firstly, for inviting me on podcast. I'm also known as Emily Broughton. And I truly know myself as a multidimensional human. And so when someone asks, oh, what do you do? It's almost, well, I'm multi-passionate and here sharing a message of regeneration, the regeneration of the human through food and farming, and how that really is the key of how we awaken ourselves as light beings and how that's how we regenerate the earth. And so through my work, I merge the real grounded stuff of impact investment. I'm the community manager of an impact investment syndicate for regenerative agriculture called Generation Re, where it democratizes investment. People can begin to invest in these companies from as little as £1,000 or dollars or euros. And then on the other side of my career, I also am a food health transformation coach and healer, and have gone through my own personal health journey to heal myself from chronic health conditions and to truly feel the most alive and clear and passionate and awakened that I've ever felt. And it really took me through a journey that I'm sure maybe we'll touch on a bit today, but that awakened things that I never expected to awaken. And then from that, through food, I actually unlocked my gifts of my voice and the clarity of what my soul's really here to create. And so from that, multiple pieces of conscious media. I recently wrote a book, It's Time to Give a Shit About Food and Farming, that I wrote in a book and it channeled through in a month, which really actually merges modern science and spirituality, regenerative agriculture with regenerative food, and how that's our key to awakening and how we're here to create new earth systems, and that there's another way through food and farming, and that's really at the core. And then I also just actually yesterday launched the Farm Quest, which is a video series. I know, I feel so good. And it's a series to go find, fund, and buy a regenerative farm and learn about regenerative agriculture from others who are doing regenerative projects along the way, and to see and explore how we can create new models of finance to finance land, and to also create a membership location that's merging people who want to live in the real world, who are like impact-led leaders, who still want to live a nice luxury life, but they also still want to live in community, and they still want to have these spiritual experiences. I mean, I'm sure I've heard a bit about your journey as well, but you go on this spiritual journey, and you can think that it's just one way, that you have to almost let go of the reality that you had before. And I went that way. But sometimes it's really nice to be in the real world. It's really nice to be grounded. It's really nice to have the luxuries. You know, we're staying in a tent, but it's nice only for a few days. I'm like, I actually really like having an infrared sauna and a cold water plunge. And, and I'm like totally accepting that, even though I'm like really conscious and feel like healthy and alive, I also really like the luxury comfort. So it's creating a space that's bringing people closer to nature whilst creating these masterminds and regenerative stays, while people can also experience what it is to live on a regenerative farm and have food that's grown from the land, and a kind of co-working, co-living space, but only for part of the time. And then I have my home back, and you come back, you can think about it. So only 2 weeks a month, it would be that. So to show that there's new ways of living and to bridge the worlds. I really feel like I'm here as a bridger of these worlds, whether it's food and farming or spirituality and science. Consciousness and light and all the rest of it. I really feel like I'm here to help bridge those worlds and to just truly accept who we are as human beings, which is we are here to rebirth ourselves. Like that's the core. Like that's what I really feel like. And I truly feel right now, I feel a reborn human. And I had to go through truly hell and back. And I found heaven on the way.
Yeah, on earth.
On earth. And I found it within me and truly feel reborn and awakened in a whole new DNA. And I feel like I'm experiencing that now. The way I create is totally different. The way I produce is feels new.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh wow, this is this. Like when you awaken more of the light, you see all those years of healing, those thousands of hours I put into healing, pays off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure you've probably always experienced something like that.
100%. And it's such an interesting dynamic that it's often the shadow and the pain and the hardship and the suffering that draws us in to become new.
Mm-hmm.
You know, without that velocity of ache, we kind of just stay the same and continue on as we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciated you yesterday when we met, you know, using this framing of food as medicine, which is probably something that most people don't relate to. It's very often transactional and quick, and it's just like a necessity. But how did you find that view of food as medicine on your journey?
I didn't really have a choice. Although I did, obviously, because I feel like the body truly knows, and the body is our greatest teacher. And from the age of about 19, I began to suffer with really bad chronic gut issues. My period stopped actually when I was 14, so I didn't menstruate. I had rashes every time I ate something. I also contracted parasites at the age of 19 that I didn't realize till I was 26 when I let them go through a cleanse, and I discovered this way of cleansing. And I went from doctor to doctor, and my hair was falling out. I couldn't even walk up the stairs. I was doing my master's in Paris at Sciences Po, which is like the university of all the French presidents. And I was there, not even knowing that it was like the university of French presidents when I applied, and suddenly turned up there, and they were like, oh yeah, you know, I was like, okay, okay. Yeah. But it was all about how to help the world and how to create sustainable projects. And I really then focused more on water and how that was really the key of how we were going to regenerate the earth, was water was going to be the most important resource. And I was on this quest to save the world, but I was so sick. Like I had to stop drinking, I had to stop smoking. I was in Paris, the city of patisseries and bread and cigarettes and wine and all the stuff that I used to love. And I literally had to go into isolation. My life went really grey, and yet I loved what I was learning. But it was like 10 subjects a term. I was working until midnight. It was just like
the extractive life.
The extractive life, and my body just kind of went majorly into chronic stress, and from some experience I'd had from my teenagers, I had like major PTSD, and so kind of I began to discover food as medicine, and then actually started getting a bit more into plant medicines from the age of about 21, 22. Discovered ayahuasca and went on a very solo journey that began to awaken me to the power of nature to heal us. And so I began becoming vegan because I thought that was the way. And to be honest, for so many of those ceremonies, I was in excruciating pain. I was wailing out the pain of the earth. It was like my body wasn't just holding my stuff. It was holding all of the earth's pain. And like I kept having these, you know, sayings from the earth, like you're holding our earth's like karma, you're holding some of our earth's pain. And I would be so angry at like what the destruction that we were doing to the earth, like screaming. And obviously it would like activate other people, but it was almost like this earth, like this real roar moving through me. And so yeah, it kind of sent me on a big journey, and I then discovered Bacamba and discovered these different medicines that kind of awakened me more to the power of the body. And it wasn't until I went to Costa Rica actually that it was ayahuasca that told me to go to Costa Rica in the middle of the lockdown. I did an ayahuasca ceremony, kind of was a bit of a break, and it said, you're not living your life, you need to go to Costa Rica. And I was still really anxious and depressed at this point, and I wanted a way out. Like my body still was like not good. I was like 25 at this point, 26, and I just knew that was another way. I just knew it. The society that I was living in was so about alcohol and judgment, and just in a paradigm that just didn't feel like emotionally free. Growing up in the UK.
Not
exactly. And then when I was there, I kind of went on a deeper healing journey, and met a cleanse coach who then guided me through a cleanse to raw cleanse my body, to take anti-parasitic and anti-herbal medication, and then to do multiple colonic hydrotherapies. And I cleansed out these parasites I must have had from the age of 19, so about 7 years at this point. And I had another full-on Kundalini awakening, and just my channels began to fully open. And then I went to go do my permaculture design certification, actually in the other side of Costa Rica. And at this point, it's funny, I was doing masterclasses for UK farmers in the UK about regenerative agriculture and how that was really the key to leave a legacy and to hold more water in your land. And this was really the solution. But it didn't really work, because firstly, I'm a blonde woman who was in Costa Rica trying to tell these UK farmers, who were all men, who were all like landowners, rich people, who were like hardly wanted to listen to a blonde woman who was in Costa Rica. I was like, this isn't really a viable business model, to be honest. I mean, it was like a naive trying, like the valiant, like we need to, transform out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I kind of went through another dark night. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? And so after permaculture, I went to Tulum, because my 3 months had run out from Costa Rica. I was in Tulum and went through experiences like that are beyond this world, and I knew that there was certainly more than just this world, and we'll move on from that. But I awakened more of my consciousness and discovered that I also was a multidimensional channel, being able to connect with other beings, being able to like suddenly having these really magical experiences. I was walking, it was like one of our last nights in Tulum, and we were going to pick up a bicycle or something that we had left there, and we'd been fruit cleansing the whole month, okay? And it was like basically fruit and a bit of veg, but it was like my whole body is like was ascending, and I didn't want anything literally apart from fruit. And something it was just like wild that was all I wanted, having been like super grounded. And I met this man who then said he was the caretaker of the ruins, the Mayan ruins, and we ended up being let in at the full moon. Oh my gosh! Just me and my friend. And suddenly we're walking across these ruins. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been here before. I started having all these past life remembrances that me and my friend had been there at that exact point in time. And that was a time juncture point that we were here to awaken some of the Earth's grids. And we was able to walk up these Mayan ruins, and the full moon's like so bright, like the brightest full moon I've ever seen, like walking up these ruins that no one else is normally allowed to walk up. And this caretaker, I think he obviously, he was part of the divine plan that it was. So we're walking up, and we get to the top of this massive pyramid that's like overlooking the ocean. And I put my hands on the side of this Mayan ruin, and suddenly my voice starts to tone like ooh, and my head almost the exact point as if it's made for me, like it hits my head exactly, like the exact height of I am, and then through my voice goes new Earth grid activated. And I literally, on the top of this Mayan ruin, activate this full...
I hadn't heard this phrase before.
No, I had not heard this phrase. It comes through like so automatically. And I'm so hot that I have to take my clothes off. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so hot. But it was like naked. I was like, because there's so much energy that was flowing through. Just like, this was like... No, he was someone else. He'd allow us to like, roam free, so it was fun. So I was like, more a free stage. And then walked round to the outside, and we was like overlooking this ocean and the full moon. And it was just every cell in my body was awakening at a whole nother degree. And we go back down, and we meet the man again. He's like, that's the water temple. And the water temple, like, water is something that's guided me throughout my life. And actually water was one of my first awakenings, was that this was really the resource that we had to heal. And that was going to be the most valuable resource. And so I then had a blog for many years called Saving the Grace. And I became like a sustainable micro-influencer and was like into sustainable fashion, health, food and wellness and fashion could help heal our world's water resources by transforming how we viewed water. And that's actually what got me into regenerative agriculture. As I watched Kiss the Ground, and suddenly it was like, that's how we heal the water cycle. Like this is the solution.
What's that bridge from water to regenerative agriculture?
It was Kiss the Ground, the Netflix. So it's an incredible documentary about the power of regenerative agriculture and how actually sustainability is not really going far enough, and that regenerative agriculture can help hold more water in the ground. And once you've got healthy biodiverse soils and a biodiverse environment, the water can infiltrate down. And that's really the key if we're going to create resilient environments.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Healthy food as well.
Exactly, because most of the food that we're eating, if it's come from normal conventional farmed land, it's firstly nutrient depleted. I think there's like 38% less nutrients in the food that we're eating compared to 50 years ago. So you have to go to eat so much more food.
It's worse with more concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, regenerative agriculture is the way that we can reverse climate change and we can draw down more of the CO2. Exactly. It's amazing. And then the key is actually about to holding more water. And that's truly the way that also we can create more nutritious food and we can feel better. And what we're doing to our land right now, we have to see as a reflection of our bodies. I think 68% of the UK or something is obese or overweight. It's like 73% or maybe higher in the US.
Yeah.
Like what we are doing to our bodies is, I'm lost for words. And we are torturing the earth at the same time. The chemicals that we are using that are seen as acceptable, even glyphosate, for example.
Especially.
Exactly.
Especially glyphosate.
Especially glyphosate. And it's very funny. I put a post on LinkedIn a few weeks ago and ended up going kind of slightly viral because it became like this hot topic. I was basically saying we're really addicted to glyphosate and seeing the massive increase that we're now in the millions of tons of glyphosate that we applied to land. And even farms that are in the transition or even call themselves regenerative are still blanketing glyphosate as a way to get rid of the weeds. And they're like, well, there's no other way. And I get it. I've never been a farmer. I'm a faux farmer right now. Yeah. But my quest has become a real farmer. I will become a real farmer in this. I was so excited. I'm so...
Dirt all up in your fingers.
I know. Yeah, I know. I'll have to go get some manicures as well because I'm really... I'm going to wear some gloves.
I want to unpack some of this because I really understand you.
Thank you.
I know what you're saying, and I've had similar experiences, and I think it's almost another world in a way. People who haven't gone on this journey and haven't had these moments of revelation or epiphany or such profound resonance, and things are moving through. It's almost hard to make sense of from the logical.
Oh my gosh,
right?
Totally.
It really, for me, it shattered my entire notion of myself and the world around me. And I think for, some people hearing words like channel or earth grid.
Oh my gosh.
What is this? And what are we actually talking about? Because I think for me, especially in the plant medicine scene, there's a lot of abstract language that's trying to express things that frankly, we really don't understand.
Yeah.
And previously throughout history, we had the language of mythology, the language of religion, this, very deep connection with cosmology. We had rituals embedded into society and a metaphorical language to capture some of this essence. And now that we live, in a seemingly post-religious society, it's like, where does this all go? Because I think it can become a very new age mess. So
I'm so with you.
That doesn't actually have a root in historicity. Have a root in science. And it's like, how do you grapple with this? And how do you also communicate what you just shared to somebody who hasn't gone on this and lived the experience?
Yeah.
Of resonance.
So there's two strings here that I would love to pick up. One is the political way and recreating and rebirthing our systems by I wrote a manifesto in a few days, and I quite literally channeled that through. It just came through in the midst of doing my impact investment, which is really how we can create a political way and societal way and transform our economics by knowing that we need an implementable plan. It's all very well thinking, we're going to create a new paradigm and we're here to create a new system and a new earth. These are all very out there, but actually we need the practical way. And actually that's something that's, I feel I'm here also to show that there is another way. I went on this very spiritual journey, and now I'm back in an impact investment role in a very grounded way, and actually feel like I'm here now to bridge those worlds, because
absolutely.
we have to do it in a way that's impact-led, that we have a strategic plan to actually be doing it and not just be hot air, quite literally.
Yeah.
And then moving on as well onto the scientific piece of like how to merge those spiritual experiences with something that's tangible. For many years, actually, I went on this very big consciousness journey and had experiences that I couldn't explain, that even to try and begin to explain now would not be doing the experiences, the justice. But then when I came back, I began to start doing a PhD in natural medicine, but through a lens of quantum physics. And so that is really the key, because then you are looking at light and you're looking at biophotonic light and how everything is energy. And quantum physics can explain these spiritual experiences. So what I've discovered through food is that the more that you fill your body with light, for example, when you eat more raw food or you eat more fruit, you are filling your body with light and you are shedding all that you no longer need. And so when you are filling your body, think of your body as a battery, electronic battery. And for that, you need crystallized water. So you need water that's in its crystalline nature. So think of a snowflake. And you get that from fruit. And you need minerals. Minerals are the conductivity of that electricity around that body, and that flows through the water. And that's what ultimately creates light. And the way that we are born is through light, and the way that we die is to the light. So food is really our way to awaken more of our light in this life. Food is either what is taking us towards the light or it's dimming our light. So if you're eating processed food, you are dimming your light. But if you are eating food that's from high nutrient density soil that's filled with life, and you're eating food in its purest form that just comes straight from a tree, that is life force, that is light. And the way that science can explain that is biophotonic light. Now we have the science to show that everything is holding a biofield and biophotonic light. And
can you unpack that term and what you mean by that? Like, what do you mean by saying a biofield?
So for many ancient traditions, they know that we have like auras and different energy fields. Science now is showing that is actually real, that you can measure the different energetic fields within, like even within a rock. Like you put your hand on a tree, and that's connecting one biofield with another.
When you say biofield, is that like electromagnetic frequency, or what do you mean? Like, what is the actual?
I'm not. I mean, I all I know is it's like the biofield. I'm still at the beginning of my journey, my PhD.
Like through HeartMath Institute.
Yes, exactly.
Full field of electromagnetic frequency that emerges through coherence.
Yes, exactly.
And they didn't really understand how people as individuals or groups can kind of communicate in ways that surpasses. So there's a field of resonance, and we can measure it. So
yes, exactly.
This is an extension of that, but at a more like atomic level and cellular level.
Exactly. And then when you go on to the quantum level, it's about the photons. It's about beyond the electrons, like how much can that energy move?
Super interesting.
And when we start to see science and nature through that lens of light, and we see light as the way to awaken our consciousness, it's very interesting. Since I actually first ever began to cleanse, photos of me totally changed. Like light will follow me. Like I have like these random beams of light that just come in and in a way that I never had before. And for me, that's just a physical representation of the consciousness and the light that's been filling up within my body.
Your decision of how I
treat my body. And
what do you drink, the food that you eat.
Exactly. Drinking healthy spring water, eating food that is high nutritionally dense, going through a process which I now call the grow cycle, which takes you through a physical cleanse, and then it resets and you add back in what I call the lower energetically kind of dense meats, like the fish or the chicken or the turkey, and then you'd go into a rebuild where you could add more of like the red meats in, and so that kind of helps ground you a bit. But you'd add in more like things that rebuild your gut bacteria as well, like kimchi or sauerkraut, and then you'd go into a balance, which is like you're at a festival and you're just enjoying life a bit. And then you'd go into a cleanse, which is, again, you're going like either vegan or you're having a higher percentage of raw. So you're increasing your light and you're increasing the minerals in your body. And then you're going into a reset where you're reintegrating, like you're in a different phase, or you're rebalancing your energy systems, and you're fasting between your meals. And so you're allowing your body metabolism to shift. And then, going into a rebuild, and you're grounding again. And that mimics nature's cycles. And that's truly what's transformed my health. And so it's seeing that our body does not want to eat the same way every single day or every single season. We are like nature, and we need to, we are nature. And we need to remember that, because we just think they'll always have the same breakfast from, maybe we'll change it a bit in the spring and in the summer. But the more that you can cycle, what I see as the grow cycle, the more you reset your body to your nature settings. I truly only ever eat now what my body wants. I know exactly when to stop. I ask my body, does it want this? Does it want that? And it's like I activated a whole new energy. I love waking up really early. I'm like an early riser, and I'm like always last on dance floor. I like feel like I'm in a whole new energy. Having been someone that was like, yeah, we know that. Having been someone who had a chronic fatigue for so many years, and it's food and nature healed me.
Yeah.
And light. It's light that healed me.
Yeah. I felt it from you as soon as we met.
Thank you.
There's a quality, like a radiance, you can feel. And I think
Thank you.
This speaks louder than words. You can sense that somebody has been through something and something. And I think this idea of, using food as medicine and understanding, matter in its smallest parts, and quantum physics is a pretty big maze, very unintuitive, paradoxical, hard to understand that our society has not even close to come to terms. It's like, oh, okay, quantum entanglement or quantum tunneling, but like, what actually does this mean?
And everything exists all at once.
Yeah, exactly. And what I do and how I respond. But I appreciate this insight and lens around the seasonality of food and the role of cleansing, and this intelligence and awareness around where food is coming from and what it represents in our body. And, I had a very deep journey with this, in that, my mother had multiple sclerosis for 30 some years. And we introduced a kind of food as medicine approach called the Walls Protocol, which it's backed by a number of studies, and this woman, Dr. Terry Walls, developed this with like a functional nutritional approach. And, we implemented this with the help of family members and friends, cooking my mother 2 meals a day using like intermittent fasting, very, very high density nutrient food, organic, the whole shebang. And she hasn't had an episode since.
Wow.
Since 2014.
Wow, amazing.
She's no longer on disease modifying drugs.
Amazing.
She's swimming, a mile a day.
Wow.
I think like 5 times a week now. And she's actually not only regained cognitive faculties, but real presence, and now starting to regain steps and the ability to walk after having been in a wheelchair for a very long time. And this was like a really deep calling for me initially, and I didn't fully understand how it fits within this broader regenerative movement until you start getting into food systems and the way that we produce our food. And it's interesting how you've kind of combined these two things together around like the inner growth, the inner development, food as medicine, these processes that we're going through to be our purest and brightest and most loving and creative selves. and then also the implication that this has on the broader system as a whole. And yeah, I'm curious, like, what you've witnessed as you've begun bringing these two passions together, if there's any surprising insights or unique experiences that as you combine this regenerative agriculture, food as medicine view.
Yeah, so actually what I then went on after I became a cleanse coach was I actually became a cleanse coach and a healer at the same time. And I had clients that were crypto founders, business coaches, international peacekeepers, healers themselves. I was guiding through a process and having these activations, spiritual activations that no one else told me how to do, but I knew in every cell of my body that this was what I was really here to do. And it felt the most natural thing. And my clients went on to have clarity on a new crypto project and their purpose to create financial inclusion, which has now gone on to be a massive crypto project. Another business coach had like 10x her monthly income. Another one went on to have like $60,000 launch straight after.
The internet is integral to all of this.
And that's the thing, is they healed themselves. They came back to the power of food, the simplicity of food. And with that, they awaken more of their potential. Like food then
blockers that prevent them.
Exactly. And food then allows leaders and every single human being to be able to create greater impact. And that's why I'm really passionate about food, because it is the foundation of how we show up in the world. It's the foundations of the purity of who we are here to be. And unfortunately, our society has accepted so many poisons and blinding of the eye, the blinding of the truth of who we really are. And this is the awakening, is when we remember that we are so connected with nature, and food is a portal to remember that.
Totally. Oh, it's so beautiful. And yeah, what is the means by which you're delivering this insight and this value? Is it like a one-to-one basis? Or are you doing it worse? Like,
so I do it actually several different ways. So I have a group program called The Grow, which takes people through the cleanse, the reset, the rebuild, and the balance. And that's also combined with soul activations and also mindset shifts, because once you're clearing your body, you also need to reprogram your mind so that every single cell in your body is programmed. Just like, Dr. Bruce Lipton with the biology of belief. Yeah. Everything that we think is programming ourselves. And if you are quite literally shedding the shit from your body, you've got to shed those old beliefs and really bring in new beliefs. And then doing these high frequency activations to actually elevate the body's frequency so they can step forward, so that they can create greater impact. And then I have one-for-one Grow for Leaders, which is more for like impact-led leaders, taking them through that process. But I also combine it with creativity exploration. So how can you unlock your soul's message? How can you unlock the gifts that you're really here to share so that you can do more, so you can be more, so you can impact more? And then how can you put that into business strategy? Like, I love also business strategy. I love mapping it all out. I love all of that. Get me on Notion. I love it. I like all of the actual like entrepreneurial stuff. I really love, and grounding it into reality. And then I occasionally do also immersive experiences, like someone wants to go on a vision quest and go through a Grow food journey and go through, if they want to use some mushrooms or something, I also like use them for so many years that I also I'm able to hold those kind of spaces. And those could be very, so that's how I kind of share the food, programs, but I also educate through the farm quest.
Yes, you're now traveling around.
Yes, which is amazing. So
travel alongside.
Yeah, I mean, my ultimate dream is to be a farmer. I grew up wanting to be a farmer, but because I was a woman in my family, even though my family owned land, I was never going to own the farm.
That's the English way.
It's the English way, I know, and it's
inherited by the first son.
And it instilled within me such a deep sense of injustice. And so now really my quest is to go find a farm, to fund a farm, to buy a farm, and to become a real farmer.
And overcome that societal bias that prevents you from being in the first place.
100%. So the Farm Quest is a video series on YouTube where we go around different people's regenerative farms, seeing how they have created it. Are there any interesting ways that they funded it? Perhaps like creating co-investment into land. And then also educating about food, regenerative farming, healing, and systems change. Like those are the four main pillars, because that's really the core of how we're going to recreate a new system. And it's entertaining, it's fun, and it's through a feminine lens, which we certainly need in this space. We need female voices to really come out to make farming sexy again, quite frankly.
And regeneration sexy.
Exactly. Farming is so cool. I mean, the fact that you can nurture a land into life. You know what I really dream of? I really want to have sheep that are like, I'm moving around with like a robotic, rotational grazing, like a robotic thing.
A robotic shepherd.
Robotic shepherd. No, but I also really want to have a sheepdog. I want to be a sheepdog, so I want to be a shepherdess. And then I'm going to maybe create some like ponchos and stuff.
Oh, you're all about the ponchos.
I'm all about the ponchos.
You gotta have the sheep for the ponchos.
Exactly. I knew, yeah. And the create feminine farming is where I made like wildflower meadows, create some wildflower teas that are good for the liver.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then also I want to grow food, but only for the home that I'm creating, where impact-led leaders can come and work for a few weeks at a time.
Let's come in, yeah.
Yeah, and
it's happening in England.
Yeah, it's going to, the first location is going to be in Devon. The ultimate vision is you have multiple locations around the world, a bit like a Soho house, but like multiple locations, regeneration for like impact-led leaders. So like luxury meets regeneration meets community meets the real world, and creating masterminds where people can come together and truly live from the heart. And also, people love doing what they are doing when they're passionate about. So why do you need to go on holiday or go somewhere else to just, have these escapes when you're completely disconnected? I love being connected. I love creating media. I love being connected with the outside world. I know other people do. So why do we not create those spaces, and that you're welcomed into a home? So it's going to be called Another Way Home. So I'll welcome you into my home, where you can also come see my sheep. You're so welcome when it launches. There's also Devon, you can also go surfing. So yeah.
Stoked. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, I could be immersed in nature at the same time.
I want to unpack a thread of potential dissonance here.
Mm-hmm.
This idea that we can maintain high consumptive material lifestyles while also engaging in the regeneration of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand why there's like an interest and a desire there, and I have endured incredible luxuries. I have really nice podcasting equipment, and I've lived a really good life. So I can't, speak from any other lens than just curiosity of like, how do these actually fit together?
Mm-hmm.
If, a small percentage of people have access to a vast majority of the resources, and the financial instruments that kind of uphold this lifestyle are so heavily extractive.
Mm-hmm.
The money that's in our bank accounts is funding fossil fuel interests.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, owning property means the exclusion of property and access for other people. How do you reconcile these tensions as you're pursuing this?
I think it's a fundamental flaw within capitalism, but I truly believe that we as a humanity choose that we can go another way, and it requires each individual to be holding an abundance frequency with intention and with consciousness. If someone who is aware of regenerative principles and regenerative way of living, and they're truly embodying and living by their values, they're going to be buying from something like a Good Sam, which is a regenerative consumer brand, or they're going to be buying from a Wild Farm in the UK, or they're going to be buying from a regenerative furniture company. And actually, that's really where we need to move our minds to, that instead of having the scarcity of we can only have a certain amount, actually it's about how can we reuse these materials? How can we recreate something better? That's what regeneration is truly about.
Yeah.
It's about regrowth. It's about rebirth.
Totally.
And so it's not about, I need to have less. Yes, we can all reduce. But what if the things that we have are higher quality, that they hold more intention, and everything that we're doing is from a higher intentional consciousness.
Totally.
That's what's going to transform capitalism. And we need entrepreneurs who are leading these businesses. And we also need the investment coming from everyday people into regenerative businesses.
Yeah.
Because the funding is beginning to trickle in, but certainly not enough. Certainly not from the institutional banks in the way that it should be. And I see this with my impact investment role. there are so many incredible businesses out there. And unfortunately, we have to turn many away because we have such an extensive deal flow that comes forward, you know, from decentralized seed companies to consumer brands or Regenerative.
Yeah, they play a key role.
They play a key role, and we need more businesses like that.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
People who can spend money can then get access to them.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to vilify capital or like say that there isn't a mode of green consumerism, which is beneficial. I just think it's a dissonance that I experience in my own life, you know, which is to say, like, do we really want to sustain the lifestyle of the city as we know it today? Like, is this actually good for us? And is it good for the planet? And maybe this will evolve as you create this space and people just want to spend more and more time in community, on land, putting their hands in the soil, co-creating, you know, being in nature and contributing towards a life that feels so abundant you don't need to buy stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, I've witnessed incredible transformations in people who have seen themselves as a part of the earth, heard this calling from the mother to give what they have towards this transformation that's unfolding. And I think, you know, my heart really yearns to see more people like embracing that safety that comes with being in community, being in nature, and saying like, I have all of this. I don't need to stack up a pile of assets to pretend like this is going to keep me safe. I can give this away. I don't need to constantly be feeding this return-seeking machine. And, you know, just speaking to Gian Andrea on the podcast earlier, like young Italian gentleman had a major exit at his first company and he made a conscious decision not to buy any assets.
Wow.
He just poured that capital into building innovative enterprises that were trying to make a difference in the world, and he wasn't seeking the return. You know, and so I wonder how this element fits in, because I don't know, there's something that it makes me nervous, especially like having worked in crypto and been around large capital holders. Like, money changes our neurochemistry, you know. So anyway, there's something there.
I certainly agree, and what's interesting is that through my journey, after I actually became a cleanse coach, I went through some experiences that were unrelated to health, but because of some things that had been happening in the world, I ended up actually going through 3 near-death experiences in 3 months. And as a result, I lost my whole business. I lost everything. I truly lost everything. But fortunately, I had the consciousness to meet it with unconditional love. But I know what it is to have nothing. And yet I was able to find unconditional love and freedom with that. And what a powerful lesson. Like, what a soul lesson to find safety in the nothingness and to truly let go of all systems. And it's been very interesting coming back into that, the world where, you know, money is what fuels it, and having to bridge these worlds of you know, life and death and the scarcity and the abundance. And
finding a sacred union of all.
When also, it's funny, money is such a taboo topic and there's so much shame around it in our society, but lots of people are subconsciously struggling with it, and yet we can, like, how do we move beyond that as a society? Like, how do we create abundance for all? How do we ensure that everyone has food for all? How do we ensure that everyone has water for all? Like, that's truly where we're moving to.
Yeah, I agree, and I do believe money is a technology.
Yes.
Like any technology, it really inhabits and embodies the intention through which it was designed. And our current monetary system was designed for a different purpose. We can design money to heal your.
Yeah. Actually, in the Another Way manifesto, the second route is called the Regen currency, which is a digital currency based on blockchain, but it's backed by nature. Yeah. So the only way to create more of it is to replenish nature.
We're totally on the same page.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate what you shared around this kind of series of near-death experiences and having nothing and finding safety and peace and love. I think for me, that's really been the greatest gift through the hardest moments of my life. It's finding love in new ways and seeing love in all things. And I wonder, like how that's moving through you now. How does that show up in your day-to-day life and the work that you're doing?
It's fortunate because of those experiences, I can breathe into my heart and find unconditional love and peace. And actually part of my journey has been finding safety in relating with others again and opening my heart to others, because I can connect with the universal loving source and find unconditional love and unconditional peace and feel this connection with nature. But for me, the real safety from going through that deep aloneness that I had to find in death, and yet that oneness of meeting the light and leaving the body and returning, like truly knowing that I am here for a reason, is now coming back to the earth and seeing the flawed humans and seeing my flaws and my shadows, and seeing, okay, how can I open my heart more? And that's currently now the journey I'm on, to opening my heart again, to be able to share myself authentically and to trust in the soul within the human that can see me and I see them, and to honor the multidimensionality, the multi-layered complexity of what it is to be a human. I'm certainly not a simple human, and that in many ways send me in like the fear of sharing and the fear of relating, and having such a closed heart because of this fear of people won't understand. Sure. Because what I went through is just it's unexplainable, and trying to, coming back into the world and taking that time after those mind consciousness experiences that totally transformed me as a human. And now I feel like I'm rebirthing, coming back out into the world and opening my heart and softening into the relating with other people, and also now meeting other people that are on a different frequency and in a very different world, and still knowing I'm here to bridge those worlds. That's what it means to be a multidimensional human, how to stay in your heart with all people in all spaces, and how to be authentic. Like, that's power. And that's really where consciousness can come in. It's not just about going on the spiritual path and letting go of all that you knew and staying in a cave. The true power and the true wisdom is when you can come back into the world and you can stand there in your truth as an enlightened human or as an awakened human, and someone that's still on that journey to awakening all that they are and all more that they are, so that they can fulfill their potential and really awaken the purpose that they came here for, and that we're here to collaborate and connect and see another person's soul. And actually, it's less about me, it's more about us. Yeah. And that's the irony of it, isn't it? You go, I'm so scared of opening my heart, but it's actually, well, if you open, then it's about the we. And then it's a totally different energy.
And it's a dance, So fascinating that the work is really born in relationship. So we're relational beings. This whole notion of a rational, separate self is a pretty great myth. But actually, once we understand ourselves as this web of relationships with the land in which we're born, the land where we live, the people in our life, our neighbors, our coworkers, suddenly things feel very different. And I think there's this beautiful invitation for people to trust that inner voice and to follow that thread of love and know that it will carry us to where we need to be. And it might not be where we thought. Yeah. It might not be where we set our sights to. Yeah,
you got to trust in the way and trust in the soul's voice. And sometimes you can't see it. Like, for many years of pain that you have to go through, it's like peeling the layers of the onion, and you can't see any. The more that you try to see, the more it almost blocks the way of seeing. And the only truly way to see is to truly surrender into the heart and to trust that you don't necessarily know that you know the way, but you know the way because you are the way. And as long as you are the way, leading from that place of love, leading from that place of light, knowing that we are connected with all things, like that is going to find where you are meant to be.
That's the magic.
That is the magic. And that's the power of being a human right now. And that's the gift. And wow, am I grateful to be alive. And for many of my experiences and much of my life, I didn't think that life really was worth it. And it took a lot of time of reprogramming my mind and healing and coming back to the power of nature and feeling the love of nature, feeling the love of the divine, like truly that
things.
And feeling light, like, you know, that science, that is light, that, you know, they are one. And that's really where we're going as an earth, when we can merge them together and see them as interconnected, to be grounded. Yes, we can have these awakening experiences, but we have to ground them. Have to ground them. And that's the integration. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this idea of, you know, humans being the first self-aware conscious beings in this vast organism of the earth. And as we become aware, we look around at the world around us and everything seems apart from us. And as we start to realize who we are and we connect with this loving source of all things, we realize, we have this incredible gift to listen and to transform this light into matter. Healthy, vibrant living, beautiful food and vibrant ecosystems, living communities, you know.
Experience the pleasures of life.
Yeah, wonderful.
Life is meant to be pleasurable. And even through the pain, that is where you will find your pleasure. And when you move into those places of pain, into your core wound, that's where you're going to find your light. For example, one of my core wounds was that I had such a fear of being seen. And yet I know that is everything that I'm doing requires me to be seen. And so it's like, if you just keep following that, you are going to find the way. Basically, lean into your core wound.
Constantly invite you to process it.
100%. Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I found, you know, one of my core wounds is that I had to be great. It's incredible to be love. And I witnessed it at various times in my life and saw it. And it took a lot of time. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of pain to really move through that. And I think for me, I have a memory of this beautiful moment in the first mushroom ceremony I ever did, where I sort of just saw this earth as complete and whole, and this whole transition into the regenerative era as done. And it was like this amazing piece of like, oh my God, it's already done. Outside of this linear view of time, like this is finished. And there's such beautiful resonance and harmony in this place. And I now have the gift to come back into my mind as, you know, a separate self, as a person in this world, and choose to contribute towards this transition. And I think it laid the seeds of this inquiry of like, what is it? What is this dream that we're all waking up to and co-creating together? I'd love to get you, I don't know, sharing what you think lies on the other side of this transition. If this regenerative movement is successful, like, what is there?
Firstly, it begins with the awakened human. You know, you had that experience through a mushroom ceremony. Mushrooms are an awakening of your consciousness, and they were actually my awakening when I was 19. And it comes through the cellular body and it comes through the DNA. That is why we are collectively waking up, is because something is happening within the DNA. And in these next years, particularly until 2030, that is the time that we are transitioning into a new era. We are in a massive transition time, and we are in this stage where we must now move to a place where we can implement, like begin implementing, but actually have a strategic plan. And the regeneration of the earth and the whole new paradigm comes when we focus our attention on the simplicity of the earth. And we come back to food and farming. Like, it really is that simple. We regenerate ourselves through food and we regenerate the earth. That's how we create a biodiverse environment. It does not have to be something really complex. We can transform everything when we come back to the simplicity of that. And when we merge science and spirituality together, we merge these paradoxes that were seemingly opposite, and we come into harmony again. We come into harmony within ourselves. And that's really how we're going to rebirth our systems, because we rebirth ourselves. And I see you as an awakened new human. I truly do. There's, you know, you have that light in your eyes as a new human being. And there are more of us now that are awakening to who we really are as leaders. We are here to show that there is another way. There is another way of relating. There is another way of being. There is another way of feeling. And that is truly living in alignment with who we are, sharing our soul's gifts, sharing that thing that burns within our heart, that is the only thing that we are here to do. And that is really how we are going to recreate and come together and collaborate. It's less about the individuality. The solo awakening journey is very lonely. And you perhaps have to go through that to then realize, actually, it's so much more fun to do it together. So much more fun. And I really am here. So now it's all about fun. Everything I do, I love what I do.
There's such joy.
I love it.
That's so amazing.
And that's really where we're going, merging those worlds together. We do need the technology. We do need the finance. We do need blockchain. We do need to create something that's built on trust, that's transparent, that is truthful, because that's what we're coming to now as an age of truth and an age of unity and awakened new humans that are here to create a new earth and here as a council of new earth leaders. Truly, we have to step up. The leaders of tomorrow, are the ones that are connected with their divine source. They have healed and they are always on that quest of healing. That's the only way that we have balanced humans that are creating and living from their heart to say, this is the way.
Yeah.
Because there is another way.
Beautiful. I mean, that's certainly my calling. Waking up the leaders of the new earth together is an amazing year. How apropos that you have a beam of light diamond so brightly now. Well, it's an absolute honor. Such a
thank you. Likewise.
There's so many other avenues that I feel we could explore. Got a lot of things to do in your calendar today. But yeah, thank you for carving out this moment.
Thank you. No,
really
thank you for having me. It's been beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.